Right now, on to the point. California's special election is just 2 weeks away, and there's a good reason some voters may want to return their ballots early to ensure their vote counts.
We have a new concern at this point in terms of voting by mail.
The government shutdown enters a fourth week. With both sides digging in, President Trump is making a new push to break the deadlock. And California's power grid.
We could maybe make electricity and really start to change people's lives here.
The balance of cost, climate, and demand, and the history of powering the Golden State.
Good evening. As always, thank you so much for joining us on To The Point. I'm Alex Bell. We start tonight with the redistricting battle here in California. We are just 2 weeks away from the special election on Proposition 50, and that's the ballot measure that would temporarily redraw state congressional lines ahead of the 2026 midterm election. According to California's Secretary of State, as of this morning, more than 2.5 million ballots have been received and counted. That's about a 10% ballot return. According to Political Data Inc., here's a look at the voter turnout that we're seeing so far. Those 65 and older have turned out the most, then those 50 to 64. White voters have turned out the most so far. It's the only group that's in the double digits, and experts say it's also about voter interest.
It's still competitive and it's not done.
We feel good that once they really dive in and learn the particulars of what this does, that they will vote no on Prop 50.
A survey from the nonpartisan Cook Political Report earlier this month shows 50% of registered voters said they would support Prop 50. 35% said they would oppose, and nearly half said they are undecided or only softly committed to their vote. And if you are going to vote by mail, state election officials are urging people to do so ahead of Election Day. ABC 10's Becca Hotbecker joins us live in studio. And Becca, it is all because of a change that the U.S. Postal Service has made, right?
Yeah, ballots sent by mail have to be postmarked by Election Day, but new this year, changes at the U.S. Postal Service might delay that postmark by a day or two. So if you're voting by mail, here's what you need to know about timing.
California Secretary of State Dr. Shirley Weber and Attorney General Rob Bonta are urging voters who are casting their ballot by mail to do so no later than Saturday, November 1st, since California law requires ballots be postmarked by Election Day in order to be counted. In this case, that's postmarked by November 4th.
If you're going to put it in the mailbox, do it now and get your ballot in.
As Bonta explained at a news conference earlier this month,
due to a change in the United States Postal Service's policies, mail-in ballots in some communities will not be postmarked the day they are mailed, but will instead be postmarked a day later.
He says people living in communities more than 50 miles from California's 6 regional mail processing facilities might see their ballot postmarked the day after dropping it in the mailbox.
Get your vote by mail ballot submitted through the USPS if you're going to use a USPS system by November 1st to ensure that your ballot will be counted in our election.
Armando Salud Ambriz is clerk, recorder, and registrar of voters for Nevada County, most of which lies outside that 50-mile proximity to a regional mail processing facility. He says you can always bring your ballot envelope to the service counter at a post office.
If you visit your local post office and you want to get that comfort of knowing that your ballot was postmarked, go ahead and ask the postal clerk to postmark it and you'll be fine.
The U.S. Postal Service tells ABC 10 in a statement, in part, given the variety of ways mail pieces enter the postal network, the U.S. Postal Service has never guaranteed same-day postmarking. There are changes occurring in our regional transportation schedules as we optimize our network. These can change the timeline for the postmark. It is becoming more common that mail is postmarked at the processing facility a day after it is collected by a carrier or dropped off at a post office.
Please get your vote in. Don't forget to sign your envelope, and we look forward to high turnout.
Now, it's important to note, dropping your ballot in a USPS mailbox is different than dropping it into one of your county's official ballot boxes. Those boxes are open like polls until 8 p.m. on Election Day. And as long as you're in line by 8 p.m. to drop your ballot into one of those official county ballot boxes, your vote will count.
All right, Becca, thank you. Republican lawmakers in North Carolina are also looking into redistricting. A new map seeks to stop the re-election of Democratic Congressman Don Davis by redrawing 2 congressional districts. The proposal could result in Republicans winning 11 of the state's 14 seats. The state Senate gave its final approval today. Final House votes could happen as soon as tomorrow. And streaming right now on the free ABC 10 Plus TV streaming app, the To The Point team is highlighting the redistricting issues to help voters make an informed decision. Just look for Redistricting Battle California's Prop 50 on the home screen. You'll see everything you need to know right there. Well, we are now 3 weeks into the federal government shutdown, and lawmakers in Washington aren't any closer to a spending deal to reopen it. At 21 days, the government shutdown is now tied for the second longest in U.S. history. Democrats say that they want a funding bill that addresses Medicaid cuts and expiring Obamacare subsidies. Republicans say they won't discuss that until Democrats pass their funding bill with no changes. President Trump today rallied Republican senators at a White House lunch in the Rose Garden in a new effort to end the government shutdown.
Today, I'm calling on every Senate Democrat to stop the madness. We've got to get our government open, and the Democrats are trying to keep it closed.
However, lawmakers are not slated to take a vote on reopening the government.
Republicans may not have time to fix people's health care, but apparently they got plenty of time for a mini pep rally with Donald Trump.
The fight, Democrats say, hinges on extending Affordable Care Act tax credits, and preventing a hike in insurance premiums for millions. Exactly 3 weeks now into the shutdown, most government workers are not getting paid. An estimated 750,000 are furloughed and another 4,000 laid off entirely. The Transportation Security Administration says the longer the government shutdown goes on, the greater staff shortages it will experience. TSA workers and air traffic controllers are considered essential employees, so they must keep working even though they are not getting paid. They will get back pay after the shutdown ends, but the TSA says since agents are not getting paid, they still have those bills coming in. As time goes on, it will, of course, get harder and harder for them to show up to work. The TSA also acknowledged a staffing shortage caused long lines for security screenings last weekend in Atlanta. California's power grid is under pressure as demand surges. Coming up, how the state's history of energy innovation could help or hurt as the next power challenge looms. And Sacramento city leaders are deciding whether to let the good times roll and the drinks flow in more downtown areas.
Little pattern change coming in tomorrow. We're going to be in those low 70s with some isolated showers. Still tracking the potential for a bigger system this weekend. We'll talk about both of those things after the break.
But first, another headlines tonight.
What we've seen the past week gives me great optimism the ceasefire is going to hold.
Vice President J.D. Vance downplayed concerns about the fragility of the Israel-Hamas ceasefire deal while speaking in Israel today. The vice president added that it's going to be a constant effort to mediate disagreements as they come up. Vance is in the region in part to ensure the Israeli prime minister stays committed to the U.S. negotiated deal. About 100 investigators are now involved in the police hunt for the suspects in Sunday's jewelry heist at the Louvre Museum. The Paris prosecutor says the stolen jewels are worth an estimated $102 million, not including their historical value to France. The Louvre's president is expected to appear before France's Senate Cultural Committee tomorrow to testify on the museum's security. And a strange incident led an American Airlines flight to make an emergency landing just 18 minutes after taking off. The pilot couldn't communicate with flight attendants and heard someone outside the cockpit door. It turned out it was only the flight crew knocking on the door after the interphone system on the plane operated by SkyWest Airlines failed.
It was another beautiful day here in Sacramento. A little warm, though. Let's get things over to meteorologist Brendan Minchuk with a look at our forecast.
Yeah, a little warm for late October. Made it to 82 this afternoon in Sacramento, 83 in Stockton, 82 in Modesto, 77 Placerville, even low 70s up in the high country. That departure from normal, 5 degrees. We're 5 degrees warmer than normal this afternoon across the valley. That's it, though, for the above average temperatures. We're about to enter a pattern change that's going to bring us back into the 70s. 78 right now in Sacramento, 77 in Stockton, 76 Modesto, 72 in Placerville, 50s up in the high country. It'll be a very similar rest of the evening until we get towards about 11 or 12 o'clock. Then we're going to start to have some clouds building in. We'll start off in those mid to upper 50s in the valley Wednesday morning with some isolated showers. We'll see that on Futurecast here in a second. Wednesday afternoon is going to be cooler. We're going to be in those low 70s. We're going to have some clouds, and we'll continue with the isolated showers, especially through about lunchtime. So here's Futurecast. By 11 o'clock tonight, when I see you for late news tonight, we're going to start to have some clouds building in across the valley, especially the southern half of the valley. But once we get towards about 8 o'clock in the morning, we'll have some more scattered showers, isolated to scattered, especially in the foothills, the Mother Lode area, mainly south of Highway 50. We'll continue to see some showers in the high country down towards Yosemite. But as we get towards about 4, 5, 6 p.m. tomorrow, those showers will start to taper off. We may even have a little bit of sunshine before the sun goes down tomorrow. Thursday's plenty of sunshine, a very nice day in those low 70s, but here comes this next system. By the time we get towards late on Friday, the North Coast seeing some rain, then we'll have some rain chances Saturday and Sunday across Northern California, including here in the capital region. It's part of an atmospheric river that is coming in this weekend. It is not that strong of an atmospheric river. We're talking about an AR1 perhaps by the time it reaches about the Bay Area and then the southern half of the state. So it's not going to bring all that much rain. We're talking about likely up to ½ an inch in the valley, but we're still working on those timings and totals in terms of that rain. So we are going to see much cooler temperatures. We're going to have those rain chances, but stay tuned while we narrow it down, Alex.
All right, Brendan, thank you. Next, on to the point, from the first long-distance transmission lines to leading the solar revolution, a look at California's power innovation and the state's efforts to keep up with its demand. All this week on To the Point, the ABC 10 Weather Impact Team is investigating California's power grid and how it is balancing cost, climate, and demand. Demand for electricity is expected to skyrocket with AI centers, car charging, and a lot more. So tonight, Chief Meteorologist Monica Woods begins this series looking at California's roots in power innovation.
And that's right. California continues to lead the world in energy technology, and the state has been innovating from the beginning, sending power over long-distance transmission lines since 1895, developing the first large-scale wind farm in the 1980s, and now global leaders in the solar industry, creating both opportunities but also financial strain on homeowners.
Everything just seems to get more and more expensive all the time.
And what friends we used to have don't live here anymore.
Lots of them have left.
Cindy and Paul Harmon live in the Sierra foothills, about an hour from Sacramento. They've spent the past 30 years here building memories, raising a family, renovating parts of their home, and finding hobbies in their retirement. Life out here demands resilience, especially when it comes to mounting power issues like safety shutdowns and soaring monthly bills.
Our electric bills before solar were $480, $500 a month.
Another power challenge comes from living in the wildland-urban interface, where high fire risk means the couple regularly endures shutdowns during dangerous weather.
To mitigate that,
we
put in a Generac generator. And whenever the power goes off, it goes boom with just no break at all.
All connecting to a mini grid on their house.
That's the converter.
Okay.
And then it transmits over to the PG&E, and then that's the Generac.
A far cry from where it all began. In the 1800s, the gold rush era begins drawing out all sorts of industrialists. Horatio Gates Livermore arrives from the East Coast, hoping to make a fortune in lumber, setting up shop along the American River, using the water to power a sawmill. But as the project lingers and lumber demand lowers, the family pivots.
His kids take Dad's legacy and they convert it a little bit. They're already running all of this water through here, and instead of just running the sawmill, they said there's this newfangled technology over on the East Coast that we could maybe make electricity and really start to change people's lives here.
Sending power 22 miles downhill from Folsom, California to the state capitol for the first time in 1895.
So this is the brains of our operation. This is where an operator would stand and would watch over the speed of the generators, the amount of electricity they were producing, kind of watching to make sure that there wasn't feedback coming from Station A, or once there were other generators online, making sure that everything is running smoothly.
Proving electricity was a resource people could use.
Our plant here is the first 3-phase 60-cycle power plant. And for any engineers out there or anybody that's in the know, that's the kind of electricity that flows across the big wires that we see everywhere in North America now today.
Almost hard to believe that at one time it was one power line running to this station in downtown Sacramento. But that's all it took. Demand surges, there's money to be made, and utility companies see opportunity to invest in larger, more ambitious power plans.
There's a reason why the Monopoly board has a square that says the electric company on it. Electricity is sort of always thought of as a monopoly.
Energy economist James Bushnell says the rapid utility growth and expansion start exposing major vulnerabilities.
Now good, my friend. Good side.
In the 1970s, oil and gas shortages, a government encouraging people to conserve, and a lack of competition in the utility market set the course for skyrocketing prices.
Demand all of a sudden wasn't growing at the rates people had forecast, and a lot of utilities found themselves with these super expensive, very large power plants and much less customer demand than they expected.
Shifting the financial burden onto consumers, resulting in sharp rate increases. To promote market competition and drive down energy costs, both state and federal governments incentivize smaller, independent producers to explore alternative energy options.
And they passed laws that basically said if you develop projects like that, the utility, the monopoly utility at the time, had to buy the power from those small independent power producers.
This leads to an explosion of development, including the world's largest wind farm along the Altamont Pass.
There was so much development of small power that the utilities found themselves sort of getting too much and having to idle their own power plants as a consequence of it. And so, although it did lead to a lot of innovation, it didn't really help lower prices.
As a result, power bills rise again during the 80s and into the 90s. By the mid-1990s, the state feels pressure to act, passing Assembly Bill 1890. This groundbreaking California reform is the first of its kind in the nation, aiming to lower utility prices by deregulating the industry and creating the California Independent System Operator to manage the grid. But the biggest energy crisis is looming: rolling blackouts, manufactured shortages, and a complete breakdown of market institutions.
I don't think California has been that forward-thinking in pulling all of it together and managing it well. There's been a lot of politics in it.
All right, Monica joining us now. It's really interesting to just look back and see how California really has been a pioneer when it comes to leading in energy and power. But I do want to ask you, the economist that you spoke with, did he make any connection between, some of this early development and higher upfront costs?
Well, the short answer is yes. James Bushnell, the UC Davis energy economist who we heard from in the story, said power prices would probably be lower if we hadn't made such an aggressive move into renewables 15 to 20 years ago. But because we were the first movers in this sector, that meant those upfront costs were going to be a little bit higher. But Alex, as we're going to hear in part 2 of this series, those renewables are in fact what may help to pull us into the future as demand starts to grow.
All right, Monica, and happy you mentioned that, because we will have more of California's power struggle coming up tomorrow night right here on To The Point. Brendan Minchef, meteorologist Brendan Minchef, explains how utilities and the state are innovating California's power grid. You can also stream this series right now, if you can't wait till tomorrow, on our ABC 10 Plus TV streaming app. Monica, as always, thank you so much. Right after the break, bringing a boost to Sacramento nightlife. City leaders voting tonight on whether to add additional entertainment zones, what it could mean for your holiday plans. Before we go, we want to mention a big vote is happening tonight in the Sacramento City Council. City leaders are deciding on whether to expand entertainment zones they hope will bring revenue back to the city's core. The zones allow people to carry alcoholic drinks outside during permitted events. The city already has 3 entertainment zones and now wants to approve 2 more at the Handle District and the R Street corridor. If the new zones are approved, they would go into effect after 30 days, just in time for the holidays. As always, thank you so much for watching and for always inviting us into your home. If you have something that you think me and the team should be looking into, you can always email us at tothepoint@abc10.com. Have a great night. I'll see you tomorrow. And don't forget, you can download our free ABC 10 Plus TV streaming app.